Musicals don't get any wittier than My Fair Lady, which is hardly a surprise because it's George Bernard Shaw, who was so witty he looked down on the importance of being earnest. That disagreement was partly due to Shaw's overbearing conscience, and that's kind of the thing that separates My Fair Lady from its source material, Pygmalion. My Fair Lady tries to blend Pygmalion's story and themes with the Broadway desire to have us humming the tunes as we leave the theater. This one is one of the best musicals ever made, and it is 90% successful. In case you've been living under a rock since the 1950s, My Fair Lady tells the story of Eliza Doolittle, a Cockney flower girl who moves in with a couple of stodgy intellectual linguists. One an extraordinarily condescending genius, and the other a consummate gentleman. The genius, Professor Henry Higgins, knows the landscape of British accents so well that he can not only place you within a mile or so of your home by listening to your voice.
Brought up in Hounslow? Mother Welsh, I should think.
But he also can't figure out why you're crying. They take pity on the flower girl, and they bet with enough training that they can pass her off as a duchess within 6 months, simply by improving her diction. A film about training one's accent may not sound like the most exciting thing ever, but this is never dull. In typical Shaw fashion, issues of social class are dissected using the very believable characters as a base. Accents and clothing only go so far. Despite being highly trained, Eliza humiliates herself halfway through the movie by telling vulgar stories.
They all thought she was dead, but my father, he kept ladling gin down her throat.
Oh.
And screaming obscenities at Ascot.
Come on, Dover! Move your blooming arse!
But having a bath and some new clothes is enough to get a rich waster like Freddie Eynsford Hill, who's knocked over by Eliza at first sight, to worship her. She's got more than good looks and a new accent in her favor. In the end, it's Eliza's realization of her own worth that changes everything. She shouts down Freddie's limp advances in a cry for masculine virility.
Anyone who's ever been in love will tell you that this is no time for a chat.
The suitor is played, incidentally, by Jeremy Brett, who was later the best Sherlock Holmes to ever grace the screen. Eliza and Higgins' mother both let the professor know just how much of a jackass he is, until Eliza returns to him. And yeah, I'll get to that. The music, obviously, is the biggest addition to an already famous play, and it's a mixed bag. The libretto is smart, but some of the numbers go on twice as long as necessary. I blame the 1960s for that. There was a thing about having 4-hour movies. Yes, almost every song is a Broadway classic, but there's a division between sentimental sweeping numbers like Wouldn't It Be Loverly, and I Could Have Danced All Night, and The Rain in Spine, and The Street Where You Live, and the highly intellectual but less beloved songs like Let a Woman in Your Life, and The Servants' Chorus, and the Ascot Gavotte, and Just You Wait, Henry Higgins. Lerner and Lowe's musical is a little on the schizophrenic side, but when it's smart, it is absolutely at Shaw's level.
But let a woman in your life, and your sabbatical is through. In a line that never ends, come an army of her friends, come to jabber and to chatter and to tell her what the matter is with you.
What a frenzied moment that was! Didn't they maintain an exhausting pace?
The perfect middle appropriately comes in the songs of Eliza's corrupt, pragmatic father, Alfie Doolittle. His two numbers, With a Little Bit of Luck and Get Me to the Church on Time, are both deeply cynical reflections on economic and sexual tensions, delivered with high-spirited excitement. While Eliza evolves from a lower-class nobody into a middle-class nobody, Alfie stares class divisions right in the face and says, you know what, I can't join them, so I'll beat them. He sells his daughter for £5, he won't take a penny more. But he ends up joining the middle class despite his best intentions. I know there's some controversy about the casting in this film. Rex Harrison, despite starring in a couple of massive 60s musicals, cannot sing at all, but his ability to deliver insane dialogue with aplomb more than makes up for that.
She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
I ain't dirty. I washed my face and hands before I come, I did.
I'll take it. I'll make a duchess of this draggle-tailed gutter snipe.
Ow!
Audrey Hepburn was dubbed, famously replacing Julie Andrews, who obviously would not have been. I can't speak for Andrews' acting in the stage show. I know the 12-inch vinyl of this, but never seen the actual recording. But I would say that Hepburn gives a great performance, and I'm perfectly happy having her. Stanley Holloway as Colonel Pickering is absolutely adorable, and I'd have trouble seeing anyone else in his performance.
Probably because Higgins is just such a lovable jerk. In contrast, a lot of characters come off as heroes in their own small way. Certainly Eliza, definitely Henry's mother.
Bravo, Eliza.
And even the housekeeper, Mrs. Pierce. None of them are perfect people, but they're all given really nice moments.
Now, as for that ending,
I washed my face and hands before I come, I did.
Shaw was not an optimistic man per se. He had plenty of ideals and recognized that people were never going to live up to them. So at the ending of his play, there's an epilogue that explains the miserable fate of Eliza marrying her suitor Freddie, the social pressures that lead to them relying on Colonel Pickering as their sponsor, and a troubled history of her trying to run a flower shop without any commercial skills. It's pretty sad. The movie chops this off entirely and has Eliza return humbly to Higgins. His response is as arrogant and misogynistic as ever.
Where the devil are my slippers?
And while we're supposed to take it as a happy ending to a romantic comedy, it's a little hard to imagine that these two are going to be happy together. This ending was actually cribbed from the Leslie Howard version of Pygmalion, which earned a Best Picture nomination in 1938, but which has mostly been forgotten, thanks to My Fair Lady and many other excellent renditions of the play over the years. The ending is softened up by Rex Harrison sentimentally singing I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face, a song which he always associated with his recently deceased wife. Harrison cannot sing, but there's not one bad note in his acting. Generally speaking, I am all for happy endings in movies, unless the sad ending can teach us something. But where Pygmalion offers us a stark, realist view of what would happen to Eliza Doolittle, very didactic and very George Bernard Shaw, My Fair Lady offers a rose-tinted version of what we want to happen. I'm taken back to Breakfast at Tiffany's, also with Audrey Hepburn, or Charade, which is also Audrey Hepburn, which offer similarly uplifting conclusions. Happy now, but heaven help you in the future. You gotta get up every day and face the decisions you made, including love. I'm not saying it's impossible for Eliza and Higgins in the Hollywood version. I'm just saying that the music and lyrics have laid the groundwork of where their challenges will lie, and acknowledging them is the first step towards survival. Bless them both.
We were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly like.